Good morning. Love being here at home. Last week I was gone most of the week with a conference at Jeff Fugit's church, Clays Mill Baptist Church in Lexington, Kentucky. And went back there, one for the conference and two for visiting some of our young people, two of our married couples. Went to school at Commonwealth Baptist, graduated, married, and they're there and serving in the church. And then three of our young people are in college there. We have kids this year in 6 or 7 different Bible colleges, which is not ideal. I always wanted to be able to visit our college students once a semester and get to their graduation, and it gets more difficult when young people scatter. But anyway, everybody's got to figure out what's best for them and make their decisions. But I just wanted to take a moment today and mention that church and some philosophies. And before I do, I wanted to remind you, especially you from our church, or if you're in the area, we have our conference, our fundamentalist conference, still church, still fundamentals, still Baptist, still soul winning, still standards, still a life of holiness, still believe in the King James Bible to be the Word of God, still living, seeking to live a life of holiness and consecration to God. And of course, failing, but laboring. And Terry Angel, Mike Johnson, Jerry Ross, those three speaking. It'll be a great conference, October 13th to 16th, just a few weeks away. And then that begins our fall program. Will be kicked off right around there as well. And I hope you'll take time, set aside some time. Here's a couple of cards we sent out. One of the reminders about our conference. Do you know your roots? You know, our contemporary church movement. And again, I love America. I love our freedom. I love the First Amendment, the freedom of the press, the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the free exercise of our faith. Boy, you're seeing liberal politicians clamping down, trying to control your speech and control media and control what people are saying. And even jokingly, I remember a few years ago, somebody up in the Netherlands or somewhere up there made a joking comic about Allah or Muhammad or somebody. And lives were being threatened. Well, we expect that from tyrannical governments. But when the governor or the people in some other executive office start making rules about what you can say and not say, who is it that says whether you have a right to say those things or not? What you've got nothing more, nothing less than Mao, Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, Lenin, the whole. It's a mess. Well, so I love our freedom, and it's threatened. And you're called to vote, but I encourage you, vote freedom. And I've said this before, vote freedom, vote life. Someone I mentioned murdering babies. They said, you mean people that are not pro-choice. And I thought, no, I'm for the choice. I'm for the baby making the choice. I'm for us adults making the choice whether we live immoral lives or not. But and I know there's a lot of these days, ladies are getting tests during their pregnancy, and some of those tests are just simply, do you want this child or not? This child may have a handicap or may have this or that. And what a tragedy, what a tragedy. The Bible says so much about the shedding of innocent blood. Our Sunday school lessons right now are all through the Sunday school, from the children to the adults, are on the 10 Commandments. And we get to thou shalt not kill. We're talking about abortion. And this thing of recklessly taking the life of another and saying we have a right to do it, what a tragedy. But in any case, I'm for freedom. So I'm for each church having a right to their own beliefs and their own faith. And I would protect their right to differ with me. But the question, do you know roots? You know, there's 2 great big churches in our area. And they've got a generic name, Church of the Valley, Community Church, Branch, Twig, Vine, whatever. And but nowhere in their obvious material do you see their roots. Well, they're both Dutch Reformed. And that's where they came out of. And I'm not anti-Dutch Reformed, but it's a Protestant, baby baptizing church with roots that eventually went from the Catholic Church to the Protestant Church, the Dutch Reformed. And they were gospel preaching people. And there were some really good people in the Dutch Reform movement. And but to say you're Dutch Reform, well, that's kind of, what are those people? That's a label. And so people like to have something very smooth and generic. We're the vine, the twig, the branch. We're revival. We're the chapel. We're the community, or whatever names, we're the church to reach the world, or whatever it is. And that's all fine. But the roots of the contemporary church movement would be in the hippie movement of the 60s. That's where listen to Chuck Smith's testimony. He came out of the drug and the rebellion and all that. But also they came out of, he and many others came out of the Pentecostal movement. So you got the anarchy of the hippie movement, and you got the emotion of the Pentecostal movement. And then in that era, they brought in rock and roll. And so you've got the hippie movement, the rock and roll, Pentecostalism, and that gave us the big mega churches, most of the big mega churches around. That's their roots. And they have a feel-good, man-centered, casual, nightclub kind of atmosphere. And I would defend their right to all of those things. But I think it's important we understand where we came from. Where we came from as independent Baptists. And I'm no better person than any of them. I mean, these are great leaders, people with great potential, and God can use anybody He wants, any way He wants, of course. But I think it is important we know our roots. Well, my background, I would say I come from the Lester Roloff, John Rice, Lee Robertson, Jack Hyles, Charles Spurgeon. From that group, it's not a Protestant group. We don't have Protestant roots. We're Baptists. And there's some great Protestants. Billy Sunday, amazing, amazing man. And Dwight Moody, amazing, just a miracle preacher and help to America so much. But they're Protestants. They never baptize converts, not like biblical baptism. Sprinkling is not baptism, that's sprinkling. Baptism's underwater. And so if you come to the conference. Again, it's October 13, 14, 15, 16. If you can't be there Sunday and Wednesday, I would prefer you be in your church. Monday and Tuesday, come Monday night, Tuesday morning, Tuesday night. You come Wednesday morning, and then go to your church on Wednesday night. Oh, your church doesn't have a Wednesday night service? Hey, come to our church Wednesday night. In fact, join our church. Come to a church that has services more often. This 1 hour a week Christianity, that's not going to save America. But Brother Johnson will be talking about Baptist history and where we came from and who we are. And so these guys are great guys, and you will enjoy being with them. You can get one of these cards. There's a schedule on the back. Schedule on Sunday. There'll be double services Sunday night, 5:30 and 6:30, and then Sunday evening double services Monday evening, Tuesday morning, 10 to 12 double services Tuesday night, 6:30 to 8:30, Wednesday 10 a.m. to 12, and again 7 to 8:30 or 9. Anyway, you can grab one of these from church. But I hope you'll pray. You this is your church, pray for the conference, and then ask God's blessing. Pray and then plan on being there. And I want to encourage you. We'll have a couple of offerings to help with it. Put some money away for it. We really need to meet our budget. So pray about our budget, and we want to take care of our budget and our bills, and we want to take care of our conference, and then we need to get a new building up. And these are exciting days. I love that with the massive exodus from California, the people who took their equity and moved east. I was just talking to one of our boys in Kentucky. He said, Pastor, you can buy a nice house here for $200,000. I thought, what could you buy in our neighborhood for $200,000? Maybe a fixer-upper mobile home on a little tiny lot. Maybe, I don't know. You just can't get anything here anymore. But anyway, pray that God would bless and use these men, Terry Angel, Jerry Ross, Mike Johnson, those three men, and I'll be kind of in between some things. But anyway, I wanted to mention in Jeremiah chapter 6 and in Jeremiah chapter 18, I want to mention a couple things. People will kind of criticize and talk about our weird beliefs and our strange convictions or whatever. And I don't mind that we're different. We are different. We're running around in a world where they're arguing how many genders there are. I want to be strange to that world. We're in a world with 50 to 70% divorce rate. I want to be strange to that world. We're in a world where people that call themselves Christians have no problem with living in adultery. And again, I'm an American. You have a right to live how you want to live, as long as you don't take away someone else's freedom. And but I want to be strange. I want to be strange. I want our young people to be strange. I want us to be misfits. I don't believe in drinking. Nothing. The only alcohol that I think you ought to have is NyQuil or something like that, or maybe vanilla extract. That's pretty high content alcohol. But it's okay when it's in a chocolate chip cookie, but it's not okay when it's in a margarita, in my opinion. We're strange. We're definitely strange. We're strange because we believe when the Bible talks about modest apparel, it means modest apparel, clothing that is modest. There's so many things that are funny. Back in the book of Revelation, it talks about these beasts coming out of the ground with hair like the hair of a woman. Well, isn't God a sexist to say that there is some hair that looks like a female hair? Well, that would mean there's some hair that looks like male hair. God himself, of all the nerve that God would be so offensive and politically incorrect. Proverbs chapter 7, Solomon says, I'm looking out my window and I see the young simple man. Simple means inexperienced. The simple. And he says, he's walking this way and down that way, and he meets a woman with the attire of a harlot. That means there's clothing a girl can wear that makes her look like she's for sale. God is such a judge. God is so judgmental. Men look on the outward appearance. God looks in the heart. Well, God looks on the outside too, according to that verse. And so I believe we are strange. We're strange. And so I want to mention Proverbs. Let me read the verse, or in Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the way and see and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein. And so he says, step back and look. Here's modern movements, and here's old. Now, modern getting air conditioning, we'll take that. Modern throwing out the hymns, I'm not going to take that. Now, you got to make your decision what that's talking about. Totally up to you. Seek the old paths. Well, there's days when they use split logs for benches, pews without any padding. I'm kind of fond of padded pews and padded chairs. And so those are not the old ways, and we understand that. Cars are not the old ways. Horses are, horse and buggy, and so we're not against modernizing whatever. But when it comes to the philosophies and the values and the principles of the Scripture, God says you seek those old ways. He says you stand and look, see. He says see, and then ask. So we should stand back and look at the old and the new, and look and look and look, and then pick. I'll pick the old ways. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick those old paths. And he says, so stand in the way where you can see all that's going on, and look at it, and then pick. See what you want, and it's your call. But at the end of verse 16, wherein is the good way, and walk therein, and you shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. So there is rest in the old ways. There's not rest in the new ways, according to God. And so if you want to find Jeremiah 18, look at another verse there in just a minute. Now, I've had, and again, this is kind of more something I should say to preachers than to the average church member, but I'll just throw this out. People that would say, they'll be critical of our standards, of our convictions, our separation, and all those things. I remember when we first started the church, a guy offered to take us to lunch, and on a Sunday afternoon, I said, yeah, we'll go. And we got in his car, and he took us to the casino in Elsinore. In those days, there's a small casino, and they had a restaurant. And I thought, I don't go to casinos. But anyways, we went over to the restaurant that was attached to this casino. But we walked through the card tables to get to that restaurant. Well, I don't go to casinos, knowingly. And I've preached for a good friend, Randy Rolston, in Reno, and the Lighthouse Baptist Church, good people. And the hotel's got slot machines in the lobby. The gas station's got slot machines. I think the restrooms in the gas stations probably have slot machines. I don't know, They're everywhere. But when we start talking about seeking these old ways, I was thinking we're very rural here. Even though our area is getting crowded, we have officially 34,000, I think, or 37,000 in our community. That's grown a lot from 1,000. Not many towns have are 37 times larger than they started. And so 42 years ago, there was about 1,000 people in Wildomar. But Lake Elsinore is right near us, and that's and again, I'm terrible with numbers, 60, 70,000 there. Marietta has probably got 110,000. That's a few miles to the south. Temecula, a few more miles to the south. And so we've got, I'm guessing, close to 500,000 people in the whole area, but our town is small. But it's rural. Our area is still rural. And when we started the church, we put in our Constitution, our principles, values, what we believe, what we stand for. And somebody that went to a conservative Baptist church, CBA, like there's GARB Baptist, General Association of Regular Baptists, there's CBA, there's American Baptist, but this is CBA, a good church. And it had been a good church. And because knocking on doors, I met people, when I asked them if they were saved, they got saved by the pastor in that church knocking on doors or in that church. So I knew that church was getting people saved because I met the converts. But it was drifting, and it's been decades since I met anybody who got saved in that church. But anyway, a guy from that church was related to someone who went to our church, and he looked at our prospective constitution we were proposing to the church members, and he said, he'll never build a church. He'll never build a church believing like that. Well, I don't know. I think God's the one who makes those choices. But people differ. Now, let me explain. We're in this little rural place. Strong stand on the King James Bible, strong stand for modesty and propriety and discretion, separation from the world, standing against liquor and dances and movies and casinos and adultery and all that, seeking a life of holiness. And none of us bat 1,000 at it, but longing for that life. A life where a church that believes in soul winning and taking the gospel out, the 3 S's, soul winning standards and the scriptures. Just to believe those things. And someone might say, well, you know what, you're in a little rural community, it's very conservative, you can get away with that. Well, how about my friend Steve Myers? We've been friends for over 30 years, and Joe Esposito and Steve Myers came out from Hyles-Anderson College. All of us were trained by Dr. Hyles, and there's no affiliation except friendship, but he's right in inner city Long Beach. And their church is big and built the most beautiful buildings, and their people, mostly immigrants, and they still came up with the money. They've built a new building, and they've got a gym. Hey, folks from Faith Baptist, they built a new building and got a gym. Wouldn't that be something? We need to raise the money to put a building up, and so now, and they would agree with us on I don't know, everything, standard separation, Bible, soul winning, bus ministry, old-fashioned beliefs. So we've got an inner city immigrant church, and then we got us, a rural church. Well, I just spent the last week with Pastor Jeff Fugit's church, Clays Mill Road Baptist, and he's in the south, in Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky. It's rural. Around the church, there's acreage, houses on acres, 5 acres. Everybody's got to have a riding lawnmower. There's so much grass. But the University of Kentucky is right there in Lexington. That's got, who knows how many kids go to that, thousands and tens of thousands. But it is a rural environment, but it's in the south. You know what? They got the same standards we have and convictions, and they believe in separation and the King James Bible, and they believe in soul winning and bus ministry. And they talk with an accent, but they're just like us. So we've got a semi-rural southern church, and then we've got us, and theirs is a pretty good-sized town. We've got us, a small town church, and then we've got Brother Myers, who's in a inner city Long Beach, and their church is phenomenal, just amazing. And that's three. And if you want to go up to Santa Clara, to where Brother Trieber is, Dr. Jack Trieber's church, his is the Silicon Valley, and it's a lot of immigrants, but it's a lot different than downtown Long Beach. The culture is different, and when the government said wear a mask, they all did. And that's a different place. Boy, it is so different. These immigrants, they're used to being told what to do by the government. You know what? We're not used to the government telling us what to do. In fact, we bristle at it. We don't like it. And old-fashioned Americans don't like the government telling them what to do. That government is not here to tell you to wear a bicycle helmet or how many vitamins to take or what is your body mass index First time I saw that a doctor recently, they gave me this profile, and there's my body mass index. And I thought, well, I just happen to like what my body mass index is. I don't know what they think, but these are those. That's a different church up there. But it's a beautiful building. But you know what? They believe in soul winning and bus ministry and separation and strong preaching and propriety in their dress and their morals, and believe in a separated life. So those 4 churches, and those other 3 being bigger than ours, but all of us all believe the same thing. Let's seek those old paths. And there's dozens and hundreds more churches around the country who believe like that. But I'll tell you, more people are saying we don't want the old paths, we'll take the new paths. But over in Jeremiah chapter 18, it says this, in verse 15, because my people have forgotten me, they have burned incense to vanity, they have caused them to stumble in their ways from the ancient path, to walk in paths in a way not cast up. He said, you leaders, you have caused your, what we would call church members, these are Old Testament Jews, but you've caused your people to stumble from the old paths. Here's our old paths. And he said, you guys teach, and you've caused your people to stumble from those old paths, and you've got them going to here's the phrase, a way not cast up. Now, what that's talking about, it's a way that's not been proven. It's a rough road, bumps, ruts, holes, potholes, and it's not been cast up, and the high spots cut down and the low spots filled up, and a place that's well traveled, a place that is proven, a place that's smooth traveling. And he said, you got this old path we've traveled for years and years. It's safe, it's secure. There's no robbers on that road. The road is smooth, and there's not a bunch of potholes. You're not going to break an axle in your chariot going down there or your wagon. And it's a way that's been proven. And now you've got these people have stumbled. Look at the word there in verse 15. They stumble in their ways from the ancient paths, to walk in paths, a way that's not cast up. This new generation of casual Christianity, it's not proven, and it's causing people to stumble from the old paths. And I just want to say, here as we begin a week where fall, everybody's at school, and we got a fall program coming up in a few weeks. I am for the old paths. I am for the old paths. I'm for old-time morality, old-time morals. I'm for preaching. We teach the Bible in Sunday school, and teach Bible study on Wednesday night, but Sunday morning, Sunday night is preaching. We have preaching. I believe in preaching. I believe in those old paths. And there's no culture where it won't work. Our area, a smaller rural environment, inner city, high-tech inner city, southern country. And we got to see one of my friends, John Shook, and he's in Asheboro, North Carolina. And they're southern, even if they're in the north of North Carolina. But one of the preachers talking about this guy, he was dead. And he said a couple of times, dead. And I leaned over to one of our college students and I said, in California, dead's a 1-syllable word, but in Kentucky, dead's a 2-syllable word. And we laughed. But I've preached for John Shook several times. What a great church. I mean, a great church. And that's east. Still in the south, but it's east. The Bible works anywhere. Our missionaries, the Bible works in Thailand. The Bible works in Argentina. The Bible works. These old-fashioned values, they work. Seek ye the old paths, and you'll find peace. Hope you have a great day. Pray for our church. Pray, walk with God yourself. Pray that God blesses you and uses you this week to be a good testimony for Him. Carry some gospel tracts. Pass them out. Tell people that Jesus is the answer. And this country is a mess. Oh, we need Jesus. Pray for mercy and His blessing on our country.